everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Angie. It's nice to have you guys here. Today I have a bit of a different video. It's a bit of a departure for me, but I've started getting into yoga and I found a way to do it that works for me. And I'm someone who has absolutely resisted yoga for years. It's been recommended to me a number of times, but every time I've tried to get into it, I have just struggled with a capital S. It was only recently when it was recommended to me again for like the millionth time that I've thought, I've tried almost everything else, maybe I should give this an honest try and see how it goes. And so I did some more searching on YouTube for videos that would actually work for me. I've tried videos in the past and they never quite worked, but there has been a much bigger push in recent years for kind of yoga for every size, and yoga is for every body, not just everybody as people, but every body, individual body. And I've seen more and more of my friends who are also women of size get into yoga and really like it. And so I thought, okay, like, all right, I'll just give it a try again. And I just by luck happened to stumble on this video from a studio in Texas, I believe, and I'll try to remember to link the video down below, that was a basic beginner yoga for bigger bodies. I can find beginner videos and I can find plus size yoga, but this was the first time I really found a good video that was beginner for bigger bodies in one video. And I really liked the video because the first couple times I did it, the video took time to explain the sequence, walk you through what it looked like, and then you actually went through the sequence. So I could look at what they were doing and model it, feel like I got it like figured out, and then actually go through the sequence. Whereas other videos I would do, there wasn't that instruction, and so then I would just end up really frustrated because by the time I finally felt like, okay, I know what I'm doing, they were moving on to the next move. It just always felt like the videos were defeating the purpose. Instead of feeling less stressed, I ended up feeling more stressed. Finding this video was a bit of a revelation, and I felt like, okay, no, I can do this. And by the end of doing that video for the first time ever in watching a yoga video, I did feel less stressed. And it's like, okay, I think I see what people are talking about. Maybe yoga is a good thing for me. But then on subsequent times doing the video, I felt like, okay, now I'm beyond this video. I don't need the instruction. I want to go straight into the sequence. I feel like I know what I'm doing, and now I'm wasting time skipping through the instructions. And so that made me think, well, if I could just have something where I could see what poses I needed to do, because I kind of pick up the poses pretty quickly, if I just had that sequence mapped out visually, I could probably do things on my own. I was looking at books, but then thought, well, books, I'm flipping from one page to the next. That's still not as kind of smooth and seamless as I would like. Then I found these. These are yoga cards by Crown Sporting Goods. Not sponsored. I just genuinely love these. I think they were about $19 on Amazon. They come in this nice little box so I can keep them all together. Inside the box is 63 cards that contain tips, tricks, and easy to follow guides. I think these are good for beginners or even more moderate. Obviously, if you're advanced and you've been doing this for years, you don't need these. It comes with 45 essential poses. Again, flipping through them, some I can't do, but most of them are still pretty basic. There's one headstand in here that I will never do, but there's a ton of moves in here that I can do, even as a beginner who's still learning her way around. So when you open up the deck, you've got all your cards. I've got them split up, so I'm going to remove the cards that I actually use each time I do my sequence. But then it comes with, just kind of show you these. You get a few wild cards that you can add into your sequences that are things like trying something new, pulling out a card that you don't usually try, extra breathing, or extra relaxation in child's pose or corpse pose before moving on to the next one. I don't really use the wild cards because I've developed a sequence that I like that incorporates a lot of those things anyway. You've got your kind of instruction card, so this tells you how to read the yoga cards and explains the different categories. You've got a bunch of sequence cards. So the sequence cards look like this. They've got symbols, they've got the colors and the numbers of the cards to pick out, so you can kind of do a sequence that they've decided on. I haven't yet tried any of those. They do have like a beginner one, so like if you really don't know what you're doing and you don't want to like do it yourself, you can follow their basic card. They've got a warm-up sequence, they've got a relax and rejuvenate, they've got a challenge yourself, tone and firm, and then a few different create your owns. The cards are made out of plastic, so you can wipe them down if you spill anything on them, if you were to sweat on them or anything like that. You can clean these really easily, and they're also very sturdy. I mean, you could possibly rip them, you could definitely cut them, but you're not going to destroy them that easily. They've got a breathing card to kind of explain yogic breathing, as well as stretching and some stretches that you can do prior to starting your sequence. They also have a card on kind of before you begin, so tips on stuff to do before you start, meditation guide, basics of yoga, FAQs for the cards, and then how to set up your workout. In mine, I have simply pulled out a bunch of sequences or a bunch of moves that I like, and I've put them in a sequence that feels right for me. So depending on if I work from one end or the other, I'm either starting standing, ending lying down, or if I were to do this in the morning, I'd probably start lying down and end standing, and then there's a bit where I'm sitting in the middle. I tend to do the yoga in the evening, kind of as the last thing before I have dinner and settle down for the night, and so I do kind of like to start with the standing moves, work down into the sitting moves, and then end lying down. The cards come in different categories, so I'm going to walk you through the categories just really quick. You've got inversions, strength moves, back bends. There's several in the back bends. And again, even as a beginner level, there's some of these. This one, definitely not happening right now. But I have two moves, cat and cow, are included as back bends, and both of those are very easy for me to do. So within all of these categories, there is an inversion that I do. I think the count downward dog is an inversion, so I do have an inversion, although they've also got like shoulder stands and headstands, and I'm not doing any of those. And I'm not currently doing any of the strength moves, but I feel like once I've been doing this for a little bit longer, I can start adding in some of those. So no matter what level of fitness you're at, I feel like a lot of these you can start off with, even if you're like me and just really struggling and not quite able to do some of the more advanced moves. They've got seated poses, standing poses, and then they've got forward bends. In the sequence that I do, because I've got several moves, I've got 20 cards in my sequence. It takes me about 30 minutes to get through my sequence, and that's with giving myself a lot of time to breathe and all of these. Some of the moves also you do it on one side and then you do it on the other. I could easily cut this in half and have it be a shorter sequence, but this is just the sequence that I kind of like and that I feel works for me. And in these 20 moves within that 30 minutes of a session, I do feel it. And I have noticed, I'm not noticing a lot of like progression, like it's not, because I've only done this for maybe like 6 times now in the last couple weeks. So I'm not noticing that I'm already so much more flexible or something, but I have noticed that I am feeling it, especially in my arms and my core, like the next day. So I feel like my body is getting a bit of a workout without it being like the super intense, stressful thing, which as someone with fibromyalgia, like exercise is hard. It's important to do, and exercise has been shown to help improve fibro symptoms, but there is a limit, and if you do too much, you can make yourself feel worse in the long run. So this has become a really happy medium, and I can do it here at home. I don't have to go out. It's great. So I've really been liking these. I feel like the cards have just been making a world of difference in feeling like yoga is now finally accessible to me, and you don't need much to get started. So if you've got the cards, obviously there's YouTube videos that you can find for free, But like, if you're going to spend one thing and you're kind of coming at it from the same perspective I had of videos are just hard to follow and you end up feeling frustrated, but you feel like you can pick up the moves if you just had some kind of visual guide. I think the flashcards are great. I feel like this is the best $20 I've spent in the last several weeks, and I'm definitely feeling like I'm getting my use out of them. But there are a couple accessories that I have bought to help me. So I already had a yoga mat. I definitely recommend yoga mats, and you can find them for not that expensive. I got mine as a free gift from DSW along with a bag, a workout gym bag that has a little slot for the yoga mat, so they included the yoga mat. But honestly, if I didn't have a yoga mat, I think just a towel over the floor would be fine. I think yoga is one of those things, like any other sport or physical activity, where you could end up spending a ton of money on unnecessary accessories and clothing and things like that. I kind of have a rule: until I know that I'm actually getting into something, I try to spend as little as possible. So the cards were my main investment, but now I am starting to look at other things as I'm realizing how my body feels as I'm doing each session and what might help make things easier. So I've already got the yoga mat. I would definitely be investing in one at this point if I didn't have one. If I'd just been working on a towel, definitely would have bought a mat by this point. So I do recommend those. But the two things that I've ordered from Amazon this week to help me that I'm really looking forward to giving a try is first this yoga wedge, and this is by Gaiam. I saw this mentioned in the video that I had tried and had a good experience with. They mentioned using a yoga wedge. I have weak wrists. I have really weak wrists. So when I'm on my hands and knees doing cat and cow, or when I'm on my hands and feet doing downward dog, my wrists take a bit of a beating and they just end up feeling really sore. And that's not a feeling of, yay, I've done something right. It's more of a feeling of, oh, my wrists are just really weak. So I thought the wedge might be good. You can use it for your wrists as well as for your pelvis, just to help you kind of get into a better position. So basically what it helps prevent is, instead of having my wrists bent on the floor in a 90-degree angle, like imagine this is the floor, the wedge helps give a slightly less sharp angle on your wrists. So instead of it being bent flat, they're just bent out slightly. I was testing it out last night. There's still pressure. I still need to work on strengthening my wrists. It doesn't completely alleviate the problem, but it did make a significant difference, and I think this was like $12, so I feel like for what it costs, it was worth it. Like, it's made out of a very high density foam, so it doesn't swish down. It actually does help elevate my wrists a little bit and just relieve just a little bit of that pressure from the wrists. And then the other thing I bought were these yoga socks. I really liked the look of these. They were like $5. They feel nice and soft on the inside. I love the color. They've got the kind of non-slip grips on the bottom, and then the kind of cross ties across the top of the feet. So they seem like they'll be pretty sturdy on my feet. They won't go slipping around. The problem I've had is that my yoga mat isn't non-slip if I'm wearing socks. So if I'm wearing socks, my feet do kind of slip a little bit, which I don't like. And if my feet step off of the mat, they definitely slip on my carpet. Bare feet, they almost stick too much. I feel like I'm then peeling my feet off of the mat every time I step to get into a new position. So I'm hoping this will be a nice middle ground, because I do like the feeling of having socks on while I'm doing yoga, but I don't like sliding around in my socks. So those are the two accessories I've bought so far. I have pillows that I can use as bolsters. I've got really big books. I could probably use like my Bazell and Hertzberg Rhetorical Traditions text as a block. So I don't think I need all of the yoga accessories, but as I'm getting started, I felt like the wedge and the socks would probably be a good thing to try. But yeah, because of how well these have been working, I really wanted to mention the cards and kind of walk you through those. Just share my yoga experience, because I feel like Yoga is one of those things that can feel very exclusive, especially if you don't have the experience or feel like you don't have the body or whatever, and it can be hard. Like I don't feel like I live in Scottsdale. I don't feel like there's any yoga studios near me that I would really feel that comfortable going into, but I really wanted to see if I could finally get some of the benefits of yoga because it does get recommended to me a lot. I've been really impressed with how quickly, just from using these cards, I do finally feel like yoga is becoming a positive thing in my life and something that I actually want to do, not something that I'm doing because everyone tells me that I should do it. Like, I genuinely do enjoy it and I feel better after I've done a session. And also, as someone with a busy schedule and with not a lot of money to spend on classes, and with the fact that we're heading into that season where I'm kind of stuck indoors a lot. I just don't like leaving when it gets super hot. It's nice to have something that I can do in the safety and comfort and privacy and affordability of my own home. I don't have to pay to go take a class. This was a one-time fee. I feel like, can you even find yoga classes for only $19? And this was a one-time cost. So again, not sponsored, but highly recommend. And yeah, if you've been wanting to get into yoga but haven't quite felt like you know how and have struggled with videos, get you some flashcards. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. I'd be more than happy to answer any more questions about how I, as a complete novice, am actually feeling like I'm getting into yoga and finding a way of doing it that works for me. So I'm happy to answer any questions or talk more about my experience in the comments below. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you are not subscribed. Let's chat in the comments. Also, I was hoping to do a Q&A soon, so I've got some questions off of Instagram, but I haven't mentioned it on here. So please put some questions down in the comments. If you have responded to a previous Q&A request, I've still got those questions written down. But if you've got new questions, feel free to add them, and I will try to get that Q&A done soon. And yeah, I will see you all soon in the next video. Thank you very much for watching this one. Bye-bye.